August the 1st. That's today. Hey everyone, my name is Prince, and welcome back to another video talking about Arthur and the Minimoys. I know it's been a while, I legit haven't put anything out since I returned. Irregular video schedules is just something you guys are gonna have to get used to considering how much I do on this channel, but today of all days, I was not gonna miss an upload. Now for those of you who don't know, today is a very special day in the Arthur community. Or really, it's not really today, but tonight. As tonight, ladies and gentlemen, it is the night of the 10th moon. Now, the 10th moon is an event that I've celebrated many times in the past, and I was sort of wondering what I should do for the 10th moon this year. And then I thought, why don't I just talk about the 10th moon? Because now that Arthur has been reintroduced as part of the stuff that I cover on this channel, I thought it'd be cool to start making discussion videos on Arthur and all of the basic stuff in it. Not only because those are the sort of videos I make for other stuff, but also because obviously there's a lot of people on my channel that don't know anything about Arthur. And to those of you who are subscribed for other things but are interested in learning, I very much appreciate you, and I will do my best to enlighten you on some of the coolest things that make up the Arthur universe in these videos. And we're starting off, of course, with the 10th moon. Now, if you don't want to miss any future videos or live streams from this guy right here on Arthur or anything else I do on this channel, then make sure to go down into the description down below and join the casual Discord, as then you'll be automatically pinged whenever I upload or go live. And as well as that, if you're a fan of Arthur, then go and join the Seven Kingdoms Discord in the description down below as well. Oh, and also I created a brand new Arthur subreddit the other day, r/Minimoys, so go check out that. Now originally I was gonna include the vines as part of this video, considering that there's not really that much to talk about when it comes to the 10th moon and the vines, because we don't really know that much about either of them. But regardless of how short they'll end up being because of the lack of information and stuff to talk about, I decided to make a separate video on the vines. And considering that the 10th moon technically stretches over 2 days, if everything goes to plan, you guys are gonna see this video on the day of the 10th moon, as in the day of the night of the 10th moon, and then tomorrow on the day that the 10th moon closes, literally down to the minute that it closes, considering that I upload at noon, you guys are gonna see a video on the vines. Considering that there just really isn't that much to talk about when it comes to the 10th moon or the vines, I figured that these would be pretty small videos that I could get out, so you guys would have a double upload over the course of the 10th moon. And a double upload will hopefully start making up for the tremendous lack of Arthur content there's been over the past couple of years. Okay, quick update on this from Editing Prince. It was very unrealistic for me to promise this. I don't know why I did, but given that, as I explain in the video, the 10th moon actually lasts just under 3 days, meaning that if the passageway were to open tonight, it would close at noon on Monday. I'm gonna try getting the vines video out for then. Plus, uploading 2 videos back to back probably wouldn't be good for their performance, as this one would stop getting recommended as soon as the next one came out, so uploading the other one on Monday will allow this one to breathe a little bit. Also, I'm incredibly glad that it's a bit cooler today than it has been, because this has been like the one day in fucking weeks that it's been cool enough that I can actually wear this, as I really didn't feel like sweating the actual flesh off of my body today, but fortunately I don't have to because it's actually not that hot today. But anyway, let's get on with the video, shall we? So what is the 10th moon exactly? Well, the 10th moon is basically the most important date in the entirety of the Arthur universe. The night of the 10th moon is the only night on which the moonlight passage to the Minimoy world will open and a person can travel to the Minimoy world safely. Now, we really don't know that much about how the 10th moon exactly works. This is due to the fact that the Arthur and the Minimoys franchise is an example of a franchise with a soft magic system. For those of you who don't know, magic systems are terms to describe the extents that magic is explained in different franchises. There are two different types of magic system, being a soft magic system and a hard magic system. An example of a franchise with a soft magic system would be Game of Thrones, and a good example of this is in the season 1 finale when Daenerys uses some sort of mysterious dark magic ritual to hatch her 3 dragon eggs. It's never explained exactly what she did or how she did it, and it's even been hinted at by the writers that even she didn't really know what she was doing. So that's a very good example of soft magic, in the magic in that world is very mysterious, and the exact laws of how it works are not really very well understood. And magic itself is treated as a very mysterious thing that really can do anything for the sake of the plot because the laws are not fully explained. This is in direct contrast to a hard magic system, which can be found in franchises like Harry Potter, where the exact limitations and laws and what you can and can't do with magic is usually pretty accurately defined. So the Arthur franchise is a universe that has a soft magic system because we don't really know the exact limitations and workings of the magic in that universe. We just know that it does what it does. So the night of the 10th moon is the only night where the moonlight passage to the Minimoy world can be accessed. This has only been shown to be possible through the use of Archibald's telescope, a specially modified telescope that appears to be able to interface with the moon itself, and by connecting to a special receptacle forms a doorway to the Minimoy world. The doorway has to be opened from both sides, with the human spinning a series of rings on the telescope to activate the light beam, which is a magical beam of light that connects the moon to the telescope. Then on the other side of the receptacle, a Minimoy also has to spin a series of rings on the receptacle in order to trigger a sequence in which the human is shrunk down to the size of a Minimoy and pass through a magical membrane that transforms them into a full-blooded Minimoy, or a hybrid, but that's something that I'll probably talk about in another video. Now, the actual date of the 10th moon and how often it occurs is very inconsistent throughout the franchise. In the widely released cut version of the first movie, we're told that 10 moons actually equates to 10 months, meaning that there is 1/10th moon every 10 months. However, in the original version of the first movie, it is stated that there is only 1/10th moon per year. Now, that may not sound like much of a difference from every 10 months, but if you go by the 10-month system, there will eventually be a year where there are 2/10th moons in 1 year. Now, despite the fact that due to an original lack of knowledge of the original version of the first movie, I've always used the 10-month system, I do think that the canon version is actually the 1 per year system, as not only does this seem to be the case in the sequel, with the sort of vibe of it taking place around the same time, despite the fucking baffling plot hole that is Arthur's age in that movie, which, trust me, requires a whole other video talking about. But funnily enough, in the original books, it's actually referred to as the 7th moon, which would actually make a lot more sense if it was the 1st of July, considering that that would be the first moon of the 7th month. But the original 10th moon that we see in the first adventure of Arthur is August the 1st. And to be honest, considering that the canon version of the 10th moon appears to be always on August the 1st, I think from now on I might celebrate the 10th moon every year on August the 1st, instead of continuing to go off the whole every 10 months thing that I have been for God knows how long. Now, as for the actual event itself, technically the 10th moon lasts both 5 minutes and 12 hours at the same time. The actual 10th moon itself begins at midnight and only lasts for 5 minutes. If the process to open the passageway and enter the Minimoy world hasn't been completed in those 5 minutes, the telescope will deactivate and you won't get another chance to enter safely until the next year. And on top of this, as it was shown in Arthur and the Revenge of Malthazar, the moon must be fully visible and uncovered by cloud in order to connect to the telescope and form the light beam passage. If the moon is obscured by cloud, then it cannot connect to the telescope via the light beam and the passageway cannot open. Actually, that's not technically true. The passageway itself will open when you connect the telescope to the receptacle during the 10th moon, but if the moon becomes obscured by cloud, then a human cannot enter through the telescope into the Minimoy world. The reason I say this is because the 10th moon passageway actually remains open long after the 10th moon itself has actually transpired. Now, this too has some inconsistencies. To be honest, the 10th moon and the passage of time is one of the more inconsistent things about the Arthur universe, and it can get a little bit confusing, because in the first movie, the Bogo Metasalai chief states that the passage will remain open for 72 hours, which is, of course, 3 days. But in truth, the passageway only remained open for 60 hours, because 2 days passed, which is 48 hours, obviously, and then on the noon of the 3rd day, which is 12 hours later, the passageway was gonna close. But then in the Revenge of Malthazar, they seem to treat it like the passageway is closing after only 12 hours. As in the Revenge of Malthazar, Malthazar takes the passageway back to the human world only 12 hours after it was opened. Although that could just be saying that the passageway back to the human world can be accessed at noon on any of the 3 days that the passageway remains open. And on top of that, there's a weird bit of dialogue where the Bogo Metasalai chief says that after the passageway is closed, it will not reopen for 1,000 days, which isn't true, especially considering we know that there's at least 1/10th moon every year. So I've never really understood that line, and that's in the books and in the movies as well. So that's a little bit of a weird thing that doesn't really make much sense. Although I would like to make the point that in the original book, the Bogo Metasalai chief does actually say that Arthur only has 60 hours. So obviously it was accurate in the book, but in the movie they randomly changed the dialogue to say 72 hours, even though that's not correct. So that's just another weird thing that the movies got wrong that the books didn't, basically. Which actually happens more often than you think when you compare the books to the movies. Now, funnily enough, despite being such a big deal in the Arthur universe, the 10th moon is actually implied to be a relatively recent discovery. It's implied that the telescope actually belonged to Archibald, and considering he was a great inventor, I don't think it's unfair to say that Archibald probably invented the telescope. However, Daisy did say that Archibald once said that the king of the Minimoys, King Zifrat, actually gave Archibald the secret to finding the Minimoys whenever he wanted. But that would imply that the Minimoys already knew how to access cross the light beam and travel between worlds safely? Because we know that the original ancestors of the Bogometasili that originally discovered the Minimoys actually used a different method. But in the Avenger Mouthsar, Archibald does say that this other method, which I'll get onto in a second, was used before the telescope was invented. He didn't say before I invented the telescope. So it's possible that the Bogometasili and the Minimoys actually worked together to create the telescope before Archibald discovered them. Again, we really don't know how the 10th moon actually works. Maybe the 10th moon is the optimum position for absorbing lunar energy. Maybe the telescope uses lunar energy as a power source to open the passageway and transform humans into Minimoys. But regardless of how it works, it was certainly a much needed substitute for the original method of entering the Minimoy world, which was a hell of a lot more dangerous. But I'll talk about that in tomorrow's video. I really hope you guys did enjoy this video. It was a lot longer than I anticipated. There was a lot more to talk about than I sort of remembered, but I hope you enjoyed nonetheless. Again, if you don't want to miss any future videos from me, Arthur, or otherwise, then go join the casual Discord in the description down below if you want to be automatically notified whenever I upload or go live. And if you're a fan of Arthur, then also go join the Seven Kingdoms Discord as well. Again, thanks a lot for watching, everyone. Happy 10th moon to you all, and I will see you on another video or stream very, very soon. Goodbye, everyone.